Hello, hello. What's up, Compass Travelers? Today we're going to have on RD for an interview. He basically has done everything. He is a entrepreneur. He is an event planner. He's been a life coach. He is so experienced in so many different things. And he's one of my good friends from Charleston. And we're going to have him on, and we're going to be interviewing him and asking him some questions. So we're going to invite him on right now. And hello to those people tuning in. How you guys doing? All right, we're going to invite. Remember that crazy surf teacher we had? Yes.
Yeah.
Hey! What's up?
What's up? What's up?
Nice to have you on.
Yeah, super pumped. I'm like recovering still from an event earlier the past weekend, but yeah, like super excited to be able to come here and like talk with everyone too.
Yeah, tell me about it. How was the event?
Yeah, I mean it was awesome experience being able to be out there, like super impactful for just to provide some context for people watching in. So it was an endurance event where people had to hike the equivalent to Mount Everest in feet, and so they would do that multiple times up a mountain, and they'd hike up and then gondola back down and repeat that. For this mountain particularly, it was in Vermont, so it was 17 times that they had to do it, which was like super inspiring and really cool to see for some of the participants that were out there and understanding more about what they were doing, their why behind it too. And then, yeah, with that exhausting too, like a lot of work behind the scenes of getting it prepped and then being able to be there too and cheering everyone on.
Yeah. How many people were involved with it?
From like participant standpoint?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was ended up being, I believe, 230 or so people were there.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was,
and what was in your part was managing that whole thing?
Well, so I was just one team. I was one team member on it. So I was in there for behind the scenes. It was a group of us that were planning when it comes to course creation for the event, and then also managing if it's the inventory for participant swag to registration to making sure that like food was set out for people at the aid stations. And so it was cool to be able to be in that role of just being part of that team and just being able to say, all right, what do I need to do, where I can go and support, and then ultimately to cheering them on during the event itself. And then we also had like, not only during, but after too, and just being able to connect further with that community was so cool.
Heck yeah. And are you in LA right now still?
No, so I'm back in Maryland for a few days with family. So
nice.
We're hanging out in one of the rooms. And then I'll be heading off to the West Coast a little bit later too, which will be exciting for this month.
Yeah, so you're going to be permanently living in Santa Monica?
So right now I'm moving closer to, it's going to be Venice is a plan.
Venice. Ooh, that's like where I would go,
yeah. That's the plan right now. So we're going to see, I'm in like transition mode. I was in Studio City, and then at the end of this month, that's where now I'm transitioning closer to the beach.
Heck yeah, that's
so
awesome.
I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah, if anyone's in Venice, hit up RD.
Please let me know.
Yeah, that's great. Heck yeah.
Yeah, what about you?
What I've been doing today?
Yeah.
Well, we got a cat. That's a big update.
I saw, which is so cool.
Stories, I'm obsessed.
So cool.
He's the cutest little dude ever. He's crazy though. He was in like before I set up the camera here, he was like knocking it down, patting it down, and knocking it over like a bunch of times. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to like move somewhere else because he's gonna be really distracting. But yeah, he's freaking adorable. So that's what's been new. We got a cat, and yeah, we've been doing the tours.
Cool.
The Deep Blue Eco tours have been going out. We did one this morning, and saw a tiger shark. So pretty sick stuff coming.
I was like,
And
that's a fear I definitely have to work towards getting over.
oh my gosh, yeah, you have to come out. You have to come out and see some sharks.
Yeah, oh,
That
for sure.
it's so fun. All right, so let's get into the deep nitty gritty and deep dive into who you're all about and what you're all about. So since this is Compass Travelers, we're all about what our inner compass is telling us, and like we're all about following our inner compass and following that intuition and like our gut feeling. What is our gut feeling telling us? Go with it, because it's always right. Um, so I wanted to know what your inner compass always has told you, and what has your inner compass intuition been telling you recently, and how have you been following it in your life?
Yeah, well, so I've always loved that when it comes to the inner compass, and especially to the cut that y'all put out. For me, really being able to have a conscious awareness of it didn't come until I was 22 years old. And, I felt at that point, that's like a little bit post college, and especially in the traditional, education system here in the US, how I feel it happened for my life was, I grew up in a small town in Maryland, and I would, be like follow what I had to do, like what someone told me to do. If it was going through, all right, you're in middle school, go to high school, from high school to college, and then all of a sudden, college ends, and I'm like, oh, what do I do? Now I actually have to take some time to figure that out for myself. And that's where, at that point, for when I was 22, started to journal and really get an understanding of, hey,
Yes.
who am I? Like, what are my values? What are my priorities in life? Where do I want to go in this journey? And ultimately, what do I want to do and accomplish? And so that's led me, quite on a journey, on an entrepreneurial journey. I was starting off as a DJ. And from there, transitioning to different areas. If it's, yeah, as you mentioned at the beginning, this like life coach, meditation instructor, social media marketing, and then event creation and event planning. And what I've realized throughout each of those for the inner compass and what's told me, to bring back to the question, I feel with it is just being able to say, take action towards something that comes up that you really are interested in and feel is going to be fun for your life. And that's really what I, in essence, have come to realize about myself is that, I can get consumed with work a lot and feel like that's the end all be all. But I've realized more and more as the years pass that, hey, like there is more to life than just one thing. If it's work or if it's, going out and just hanging out with friends, like there has to be that balance. A word sometimes I feel gets victimized so much, but, and attacked. But it's important I believe, to have that balance within your life. And through that, fun can be a great way to do that. And making sure that for me, my inner compass, it's telling me, okay, what is fun for work? And then what is fun for social? What is fun for your personal time? And
Yeah,
being able to lean into that, and lean to that fun, and to not, do things just because you feel out of obligation you have to do, but ultimately
definitely, definitely.
that for if it's someone or for organization or for collaboration. And ultimately that's going to create some awesome energy and awesome excitement too in your life. And it doesn't mean that it's always going to be easy. I feel like with that there's challenges always that we're going to face, and the suffering and the struggle. But at the end of it all, if you can appreciate it and have some area of fun within it that you can incorporate throughout the journey, that is what I believe is so important. And so for me, that's really what I've stuck to for the inner compass, and being able to lean into that. And also, it's a work in progress. So it's constantly being able to listen to it, and especially when I stray off that path, being able to come back to it and understand, okay, what's it saying to me now, and how can
Yeah.
I get back on the path that I want to go back on?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely like I'll have moments where I literally feel like I'll feel like I'm so aligned with that inner compass, and I'm like, yes, I'm doing it. I feel so good. And then like something will like throw me off, and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Like I need to tune back into that inner compass. And like those days where I'm just like meditating, or I'm like tuning back with journaling. Journaling is a huge thing for me. I love journaling. It's helped me so much. Like writing it out and figuring out what I want is like the best. Like that's where all the junk in the back of the mind comes out when you like write it out, you know? So yeah, I totally understand.
Well,
And
I wanted to like add on to that because I think the journaling is something that people, yeah, and, it's different forms for like everyone is unique in their own way for how they translate, what's going on within their mind and putting that out on paper. But I am so on the journaling train of just like how important that is because from that too can allow you to build the belief within yourself that you can do something or create something in this world, or have that conversation that you've been shying away from perhaps, and it can give that confidence to go out and take action. And I believe that where it's not just putting it out there into the world and saying, hey, this is going to come, one way, shape, or form. My belief is also that there needs to be and must have action behind that too, to make it into manifesting it into reality too.
Yeah, there's something about like seeing yourself, like writing something out on paper and seeing like it develop over time. Like that's why I'm so into, that's why I made the Follow Your Compass planner, daily planner, because I'm just like writing stuff every day, every morning is like my highlight of my day, like it really like shows that I can do anything. I just need to like stick to this routine. I need to stick to the motivation, stay on track, stick to my inner compass. So I'm always reminding myself when I'm writing down, like, what is my inner compass telling me? Like really tune into that and write it out. But the thing is, like, I was just listening to a podcast this morning and I was thinking, it was talking all about how we're such like multi-dimensional creatures that have many different passions. And sometimes it's hard. Do you hear the kids?
Yeah, I'm here. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Hello.
We may have to do a guest appearance. By the way, I got to do a shout out to Chrissy. I just thought Chrissy, but this. Oh, nice.
He wants to be in it.
Yeah.
But like, I've just been realizing lately, because I'll get into like a certain niche, or I'll like get super focused on one thing, and then sometimes it feels weird to like go astray or like have different passions and have multiple passions. And sometimes it's like overwhelming, like if you're like, oh, I like singing, but I also like singing music, I like writing, I like this and this and this, and where am I supposed to bring that all together? Sometimes it's that can confuse my inner compass when you like so many things. So how do you kind of go about like having so many different passions?
Awesome. That's an amazing distraction.
Oh, and passions for cat. I've been like realizing I have passions for kitties and like, all different things.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't align, sometimes it feels like scattered. How do you like come back together and kind of ground it in?
Yeah, well, I love that question too, by the way. And
that's something I've been trying to figure it out.
Yeah, well, with it, I mean, like this is again going back to my belief within it, both being able to see it firsthand, then also learning from others. And one thing too, I gotta add pretext to this is there can be 1,000, if not a million different ways to get to where you want to go on the journey of life, and we're all unique in our ways. So the key is to test and really figure out what is going to be in alignment with me. And that for people can turn a lot of people off because they're like, oh, I got to do some like hard work here of like figuring out what works for me rather than like giving me that just essence of like, this is what you got to do. Hence, I'm about to give an idea that might resonate with people to try. And so one would be to understand that we are like multi-passionate. I believe that. I do believe that we're going to have more than one interest in life. And with it, one may be way bigger than the others for the amount of time we're spending on it. But I do believe in that. And so what has come up that has helped me immensely, and it could be something to try for those watching this, and also too for you, is being able to take the time to focus in on one area and provide closure to that area. So if it's, hey, I want to focus in on, I'll use like my prime example of like a meditation instructor. What I ended up doing was saying, okay, I want to see if this is where I want to go. So how do I provide closure to this? How do I make sure I'm focusing all my attention on this? And I just decided, hey, okay, I'm going to plan out an event that I'll host and have, that'll happen in 3 weeks, and determine if this is going to be in alignment. Did the event. It went awesome. And then I took some time to reflect on that. And I realized, okay, maybe like that's a part of me. I love that, but maybe not in the role that I'm doing. And so I believe like it's hard for us to multitask. From that, we get distracted. We get, we don't give ourselves enough grace. So then we really beat ourselves up in that way. But if we can take a moment, it doesn't have to be, hey, a full year, I'm going to focus in on this. Maybe it's, let me try 2 weeks, dive deep,
Yep.
take time to reflect, and then what does it mean for me of like, should I continue down that path? And also to realize it's just 2 weeks. So, it may need a little bit more time. But I do feel we do beat ourselves up a lot, myself included, when it comes to like if something's not really working right now, to just
Yep.
realize going back to me, like focusing on anything I start is, again, it's so important, simple. It's been shared on the digital world, but it's that why behind it too. Like really understanding, why am I doing this? Is that why strong enough to go through some of those challenging moments? And if not, then that's okay to say, hey, I'm going to let that go and move on to another area in my life.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. And with everything, like, you're not going to know if you like it or if you want to do it long term unless you experience it. So,
Yeah.
gotta experience and try everything. And then once you like hit into that groove and that flow, you're like, all right, I like this. I'm going to keep doing this, but you don't know until you try it. So,
Yeah.
try anything.
Yeah, and the key is, test it. Like there's certain times, like, we don't know what we don't know in that sense, where it's like, test it out if it interests you. And I always say, like, that's where the
Yeah.
inner compass comes in for me, is like, okay, if this seems somewhat fun, but I don't know, I don't really know anything about it, let me at least go and experience it in one way, shape, or form, and take action in that way. And then from there, I can really assess it for myself. Take away all outside influences, all external, if it's opinions, perspectives, inputs, and really just sit down. And that's where journaling for me comes into play, really being helpful. And then just having that time, by myself, if it's going for walks, is just to reflect like, hey, let me reassess this. Is this for me or is it
Yep.
not? And
Yep.
you get to decide that for yourself rather than having others input saying, oh, you should do that, or come on, this is the way you got to do it. That can
Yep.
come up, and it's hard sometimes to be able to work through all that noise. But the key is giving yourself that space to do it.
Yeah, and that's the inner compass coming through. Like just like sitting and listening and like feeling, okay, is that right? Like you'll automatically have a feeling. Like I always get like little things, like I'll have a feeling, like it'll be like, that's not right, and go with that. Like if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. Like it's always, there is an underlying feeling, and I think it's so cool.
Yeah, when it's hard to describe that feeling unless you really
It's hard
experience
to describe
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how I look at it is I do an instant check, as you just mentioned. It's like, hey, is it good? Is it in or out when it comes to like what I want to do? And that's like an immediate. And if it's out, I actually take time. This is something too, is when I go on the outside, I take time to realize, why am I out? Because what can also happen, and it's our natural tendencies to protect ourselves, what can happen is when it's something that we say out to, we got to understand, is it out of the fear of, for example, I think of starting a new project, what can come up for me for going out that I actually think is just more of my body responding to protect me rather than like actually me wanting to do that, is, am I fearful of people judging me for where I'm starting with this? And is that why I'm out? Or is it because actually it isn't of interest? And so that's something too that I always, try to focus in for myself, is saying, the in, I go right away, but the out, I take also a subtle check to
Yep.
really
Yep.
determine that out, really just a surface level out, or is it really deeper as like, this is not for me.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's like the fine line between like fear and anxiety versus your intuition and your inner compass talking. And that's something that like, yeah, can be really hard. It's a very fine line, because like, if you're feeling like, oh, this is stressing me out, like I can't do this, it's not your inner compass, it's your ego, it's your fear, it's your anxiety is talking. So yeah, tuning into that inner compass when all that is happening is super duper important. And once you like can master that, then you can do anything.
Well,
But
and a key way is just to know the practice. It's like that's the one thing, is that
yeah.
it takes practice. It takes a little bit of that time, and to give yourself grace during those beginning moments, because we're all got to start somewhere with it. And so maybe it's been years that you've been focusing in on it. Maybe it's only been days, but to just realize, hey, let me give some grace for where I'm at, and then also realize that progress each and every day is going to be amazing and incredible for what it's going to create for your life.
Yep. You get it.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
it. The next question I have is, so what are you trying to share to the world, and what do you think the world needs more of right now?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So for this question, what comes up, I want to share kind of where I'm at in my space right now.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it goes back to have fun. So I believe that really for me, what I want to do is inspire each and every person to live a fun-filled life. I believe in that. I believe that every person can experience that, no matter what suffering that people have gone through in life, the loss, the pain that they've experienced upon themselves. We can focus in on the past isn't to define our present or our future. It's a part of us, and to honor that, but also to realize that we can create that fun-filled life for ourselves. If we take the time to really focus in on that. And so for me, that's what I want to inspire and what I do and in all action. And through that, it's being able to lead with integrity, with love and fun and then impact. And I believe with that, live events is a great way to really build connection that helps all of that come together for ourselves. I believe we're not meant to do this all alone on this journey of life, and that we are meant to do that with others. If it's friends, if it's family, if it's a significant, a partner in life or business, I believe that we're there to support each other. And so I believe that comes from connection and actually taking the time to learn about each other, learn about our differences, and honor those differences and respect those differences, but also appreciate what are the similarities that we can share and we can really bond on. And through that, with immersive live event experiences, if that's on retreats, if that's just one I did with the endurance event, if we can come together on a shared mission and shared purpose in that time that we have together, and it's a small amount of time in the grand scheme of life, but if we can come together in that moment, I really do believe that we can create not only a better life for ourselves, but also a better planet too that we're living on.
Yeah. And that's super important nowadays because I feel like a lot of people have kind of shut off and like got into their own little bubbles and stuff, especially with social media. So having your phone to connect with everyone, but like with COVID, it separated everyone. And then we have, it's just not as much connection. I feel like with just like like one-on-one interactions with people, or just strangers. Like you go to the grocery store and you don't have that connection. You can't talk to someone in the line. You have the mouth, like it's just not as personable.
Yeah, it's some people will say, "Oh, it's creepy." Like it's creepy that you're doing that.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's weird.
Yeah,
That's seen as weird now. When it used
yeah,
to be like, oh, nice guy saying hi, but now it's like, oh, then why are you talking to me?
yeah.
So it's just like,
And there is truth. There is some truth behind that, and that's what causes that to really expand out. Of like, oh my gosh, there can be those situations that can come up. That's like, oh, they, people can go back to their past of like, oh, that experience happened, and that was a negative reaction when a stranger came up and talked to me. So now I'm going to associate that with every experience that happens to me. And it's hard to try to change that, but I'm with you on that. Where it's like, when it comes to technology and the power of social media, it's incredible for the connection from people from all, like what we're doing now is like super awesome, but we got to also create that balance and honor the in-person connection, because I believe it's so much deeper than it is on digital. I really do believe in that, and just what can happen, what can form, the emotions that can occur, it is so powerful. And digital is a great way to help complement that, but it's not one or the other. I believe it's both.
yeah, I agree, and that's why, um, like after COVID, Calvin and I have been focusing so much on tours and in-person tours on the boat and retreats and my classes, Kundalini classes, and like being there in person is just so much more impactful and scary, and you feel all the feels. It's like way more. I mean, it's in the now, it's in the present, but like, yeah, I feel like a lot of people are focusing on online, and it's good to combine like both. That's the most impactful. So we're really realizing that, and that's why we're really trying to focus on our tours and our retreats in person, because we want to interact with people. Like that's the point.
Well, and if COVID and pandemic hasn't, at least I know for me, hasn't, it's shown the importance of that in person.
Yeah.
Without it, what happens? For me, like it was stress levels were up,
Isolated.
up, and this uncertainty of like the world, and to not have the ability to connect with people in person. And I realized that's something that for me, it just reaffirmed my love for being able to come together. And I feel like too that just talking from other people as well, that's been something that's come up
Definitely.
as
Definitely.
too. And it's important that there is going to be that, like, there's always going to be that desire moving forward. And it's just now understanding, there is online is so powerful and so important. And I don't believe that we should completely let go of that at all. But it's just to understand that they should be complementing each other. And when you feel
Exactly.
overwhelmed in one area, because you can be overwhelmed in person, absolutely, you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I'm right there with people on that. And so it's just the key to understand that there is an ebb and flow with it, and to honor that. And you got to figure that out. What is that for you? Because some people can go months where it's like, all right, in person, in person, in person. And they feed off that. And then others are like, I can only take it a day a week.
Yeah. I need a social recharge.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah. And that's with everything. Like, if you go too extreme, like if you go too extreme on your phone 24/7, you get into a bad place. Or if you go too extreme partying every night and like being with people, sometimes it's exhausting. So it's like, and which with everything, I'm realizing a balance is just so important. Like, if you work too hard, like, you're gonna be unhappy. If you hang out with friends too much, you're gonna be like, feel lazy. It's all just like a balance. And
Yeah. And what's interesting,
awesome when you
I love
figure it out.
I love how you say that too, with the balance, because this word, it's been, as I said at the beginning, like near the beginning, it's just, another word that can be used is an alignment. But like balance, it is so important. It's not like, hey, you're trying to pack everything into this time that you have, but it's just to realize, like, what are priorities for you, and how do you just make sure that you're balancing your energy through those priorities. Because if you're not prioritizing an aspect that you really want to prioritize, then that's just going to cause so much issue and stress onto other areas of your life, that perhaps you've had that energy, but it's not going to be as best as it could be.
Yeah, and that's going back to like the inner compass. That's the same as like tuning into what your intuition's feeling. If your intuition's feeling like, oh, I've been alone too long and I want to hang out with people, or I feel like I want to be social, or oh, I'm getting exhausted, I need me time, I need self-care time, like listening to that and being like, giving yourself that recognition. It's awesome when you can figure that out. It's like, it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And the one thing too, like, because I definitely want to share this for people that are watching too, because I feel like we're definitely in alignment with it, is like having action behind that. When that feeling comes up, we have a choice of deciding, do we suppress it, or do we actually do something about it? And what can happen, I've done it. I mean, I've done it, like pretty recently too, is like sometimes I won't act on that. And then in the end, it just bottles up to a point where finally, some way, shape, or form, it's going to come out, if not in in a way that's helpful, or in a way that could be helpful. And so to just realize that we continue to take action upon those feelings that come up for us, if it's like calling a friend, if it's just going out for a walk, taking the time to read, taking the time to actually buckle in, bit down, and get that work or that item that you wanted to get off the checklist, to do that is so important as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
you get it. And then, what is your biggest fear?
Ooh, yeah. So my fear, I love this question too. So what comes up immediately for me is not fully reaching my human potential, which it's impossible to do that.
That's
in that
my
standpoint.
fear too. Yeah.
It's impossible in the standpoint of like I mean, I feel we're limitless in what we can accomplish and what we create, and that's a new belief for me.
It's a hard fear.
Yeah. It's a new belief. It's very scary. And so what comes up for me is just going back to what I just said about the action. That's how I like that statement of like human potential, of not maximizing it. What I take that for my interpretation, because I believe that can be different for everyone, is that it's just taking action when I know that it feels in alignment to do so, rather than letting the fear hold me back. It's being able to be courageous, because the fear will still be there, but to be courageous and taking action into the area that I know is going to be fun to try. I'm excited to do that. Let me give it a try. But then there's all those other conversations coming up of like why I shouldn't, or hey, again, going back to that fear, I have big fear of that judgment of where you're starting at when you do something new for like a new project. And so that for me is how I look at human potential within my own life, is just being willing to say yes to those areas that really fall in alignment, and then also with that saying no to what is not a priority and to what is not something that is in alignment, but I'm using my, the people pleasing area, the fear of, rejection or whatever comes up from within that, to hold off on saying no, like being willing to say no, I also believe is so powerful in being able to hold that boundary so that you can say yes to more of that, of what's going to continue to build your energy in life.
Yeah. And that's something that I super struggle with, like saying no, or like realizing if I'm just saying yes, 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 just to do more and more and more, like when do you stop? When do you tell yourself, okay, like you're enough the way you are, like you don't need to keep going and keep proving yourself and keep showing up, and the whole thing of gratitude, I think, has really shown me that if I'm grateful for what I have and tune into that present moment and ground in, and every morning and night I'll write down what I'm grateful for, and that's like the best practice, because it really makes you realize you don't need more. Even though your ego is always telling you, I need to do more, I need to be more, blah, 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 blah. You can be happy with the simplest of things. You really can. Like, it can be super fulfilling. It's just kind of like how you look at it in your mind. So I've been really just like realizing that, going with my inner compass, sticking with that, but not being like, oh, I see these people doing this, now I'm going to do that, being like, nope, this is my path and I'm grateful for this, and I'm going to remind myself that every day, and I'm not going to get distracted. I'm not going to want more and ask for more,
Yeah. Well, and to go off of that, what came like in a recent post I did was the comparison. What happens when we compare ourselves to others, and the most important person to compare yourself to is you, from yesterday. And just with that, going back to what you said about the simple, aspects, I believe that we can find happiness in that moment that we're living in the present, and also be wanting to, grow in areas of our life. I believe growth is something that is within us that we are craving is growth. But when we do that from a place of comparison with others and feeling like I got to go out there and improve, then that just creates way more of that stress within ourselves that actually hurts that growth feeling. And if we can still be able to enjoy what we have and honor that and be grateful for that, and that's absolutely where you said gratitude comes in. Like, I believe so much in that, and it's so important. But if we can come from that place of gratitude, but also be willing to understand, going back to balance of growth, and make sure that's there in our life, then let's do that. And again, it all comes back to fun. Like, if we're enjoying and having fun in those moments that we're in currently, and really not just surface level fun, but like really inner compass, like this is fun. This right now is fun for me, and in the season I'm in the journey I'm in, on the chapter of life that I'm at. Then that, I believe, is what matters the most.
Yeah, and tuning into like a community and people that agree and want to do that and have similar mindsets. That's like what Compass Travelers is all about, like tuning into that community and like really building that. Like, it's not about comparison, it's about like building each other up to be able to follow your inner compass, to like for each individual person to have their own inner compass. It's not like I'm not trying to show, oh, you need to do this. It's like you have a specific purpose on this earth and you need to follow it, and being around other people that are doing that like shows you and brings it out of you.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I love being a part of this community too, and just like the energy that's being shared out in the world. And like self-awareness, I believe, is something that each and every person must experience in their own life if they truly want to continue to lean towards their best life, in the one that we have here.
Yeah. And so last question, because it's 11:30. So what kind of people are you looking to connect with? Talking about community, what kind of people are you looking to connect with, and people that you can inspire and that inspire you? What's this collective community that you're looking for? Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I appreciate that question too. Right now, going through like new program launch that's helping more those in the coaching space that are wanting to create live events. So that's something right now that we talked earlier, like before this, like that's something where it's been massive for the time and the energy. But ultimately, too, for me, who I love connecting with are those that, one, are wanting to discover what their superpower is in this life. Like that word gets thrown out there of superpower, but ultimately it's like, like, how do I want to serve and support and be there for others? If that's through just cheering them on in a certain situation, to helping share their knowledge to others. The coaches, that can be hard for some people to get their mind around, but ultimately who I am looking to connect with are those that want to give back and create impact to others in this journey of life. And then from that, receive it, be willing to be open to receiving that impact that others can give to them. And ultimately from there together, we can create some amazing magic too in this world that's like going to be awesome and epic.
Yeah, the abundance exchange.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I feel so grateful to have you as a Compass Traveler in this community. You're such an awesome person, and yeah, you really inspire me, and we reflect the inspiration off each other. It's great. So awesome to meet people like that. It's so important in life. And yeah, I think people that can be vulnerable too and just be like their weird, goofy, awkward, silly selves, like that is so cool. When I meet someone that can just like completely be themselves and like just like spill the beans and be like, hey, this is me. That's the coolest thing, and you're really great at doing that. And yeah, it's super inspirational, and yeah, that's what life's all about, is being your most vulnerable self together. So it's great.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Like, I'm definitely taking that to heart. And like, yeah, super excited for this community, and definitely looking forward to like, continuing to be a part of it too. Like, so honored to like take some time to chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the Compass Travelers interview magazine. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I just want to say, like, go out there, take that action that you've been perhaps waiting to do, and just continue to live a fun-filled life.
Heck yeah, take the jump. Take the jump and surround yourself with people that are taking the jump too, and inspire you, and let you be yourself.
Yes, so important. Authenticity. Yeah, lean into that for yourself.
All right, check RD's Instagram page out. Aloha.
Bye.
Bye.